And tonight, let my people go. The marching orders to the Ghana Police Service as the Attorney General declares there is no evidence to support Professor Frimpong Boateng's allegations that top NPP government officials are neck deep in illegal mining activities.
Indeed, investigations were conducted on the basis of that. Our report on it will be ready to show clearly a failure on the part of the professor to even cooperate. He was invited a number of times to the police station. He said he was just relying on the allegations contained in his report. And the allegations themselves really did not constitute any evidence at all.
Well, there's more unfolding tonight as Joy News secures an exclusive detail as the AG writes to the Ghana Police Service directing that no person mentioned in Professor Frimpong Boateng's report be prosecuted in spite of professors' belief that the accused persons must be prosecuted. We have details coming up. And top story, as always, is brought to you by Vodafone. Further together. My name is Blessed Sogah, and tonight, the Ghana Police Service has been ordered to discharge about 16 top NPP and government officials accused of being neck-deep in activities of illegal mining. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice Godfred Dame Yeboah says there is no evidence to support claims by former Minister for Science and Environment Professor Frimpong Boateng that some government appointees and politically exposed persons were actually involved in illegal mining as galamsey as we know it to be. It will be recalled that a document authored by the former minister who was then in charge of government's fight against illegal mining mentioned ministers and senior government officials said to be involved in the menace. But the Attorney General in a letter to the police CID says no proper evidence was adduced against these persons and recommended that none of them be prosecuted. Well, listen to the Attorney General Godfred Dame Yeboah who spoke to Joy News earlier.
Yeah, but I think that's also important to indicate that evidence is critical and key. About some 6-7 months ago, we heard about this Professor Frimpong Boateng's allegations contained a report that they had prepared. Indeed, investigations were conducted on the basis of that. And very soon, our report on it will be ready, and I'm sure it will be released to the public to study. It will show clearly a failure on the part of the professor to even cooperate. He was invited a number of times to the police station. He said he was just relying on the allegations contained in his report. And the allegations themselves really did not constitute any evidence at all. I think that is the record will show. So when our report on that matter comes out, it will clearly indicate to you how evidence is key to unraveling all the various allegations as well as the persons behind the galamsey activities. But I will note once again that evidence is very key and material to successful prosecution. The mere mention of a person in a report or in a letter to the police does not really constitute evidence in itself. There has to be further investigations by the police. And if the person who alleged is unwilling to cooperate and says, well, he just rely on the document that is presented to the police, I mean, how do we proceed as a nation? So I think it is important for all of us to proceed responsibly and not, with all respect, rely on some allegations which may not be buttressed by any evidence whatsoever.
Well, so that's the Attorney General, Godfred Yeboah, who spoke to Joy News earlier, and that was ahead of the release of his legal opinion on the piece of document released by Professor Frimpong Boateng when he was then exiting office. We'll hear from the good old professor shortly, but what I want us to do now is to hear from Kwaku Asante of our Legal Affairs Desk, who will be joining us with details of what it is that is contained in this document, knowing that there are far-reaching directives, especially to the Ghana Police Service tonight, asking them to discharge these individuals at the center of the controversy. And it's the reason for which there's a need for us to break all of this down for you. Kwaku Asante is joining us now. And Kwaku, if you can hear me, first of all, what are the allegations made by Professor Frimpong Boateng? There's a need for us to refresh the minds of our listeners now.
Well, so Professor Frimpong had alleged that if you look at the totality of his work that he did during his time as head of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining and as Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, there were certain key government officials, including Kojo Nkrumah, who he alleged at the time had gone to congregate some journalists to run him down and fight against illegal mining. He also talked about the president's cousin, Gabi Asayotredako, and some of the things he did that he thought undermined government efforts at fighting illegal mining. He also talked about a number of party officials and persons who were deep within government administration, this administration, who were all engaged in illegal mining, who were buying excavators, releasing them for young people to go into the forest to mine. These were some of the key highlights in that explosive report that was authored by Professor Boateng in terms of what exactly he thought the government officials who were involved in doing this.
And now we know that the AG has formed his opinion on the matter. How did he come to the conclusion that there was no evidence against the persons mentioned in this document?
So, Blessed, if you look at the report that we have cited, with the Attorney General actually also writing to the Ghana Police Service to ask them to not prosecute any of the persons who were mentioned by Professor Frimpong, he starts by talking about how the police and the Attorney General's office have all struggled to get any more evidence from Professor Frimpong. They say that apart from the report that was authored by Professor Frimpong, he has refused to go on the record to provide any more evidence apart from the specifics of the names and the events that he catalogued in that report of his. The Attorney General and the police say this has made it a stumbling block. They are unable to proceed with the investigation because there are no firm allegations to back Professor Frimpong's claim that he made. Specifically, let me quote page 5 of this report that has been sent from the Attorney General. He says that after a careful study of the report, the various documents and pen drives submitted to the police, we do not find any evidence in support of the allegations made against the person cited in the report, with the exception of Seth Mantejo and Korea side. It is recorded that several attempts by the police to obtain further information from Professor Frimpong to substantiate the allegations made in the report and to assist them to conduct further investigations proved futile. The professor refused to provide any further information to the police. He also declined to give a written statement, claiming his report was, quote, an embodiment of his statement and all the information he has on the allegations. Investigations by the police have also not reviewed any evidence in support of the allegations. The allegations are therefore bare and do not provide a basis for any criminal charge against the person cited in the report, except the three mentioned, who are not really government officials at the time.
And there's more on this shortly, but the letter, as we know, concludes by recommending that no prosecution be undertaken against the persons named in this report, as you're just pointing to us. And there's a subsequent or far-reaching directive also to the CID of the Ghana Police Service for these individuals to be discharged.
This letter from the Attorney General to the CID Director General, and this was signed by Evelyn Kilton on behalf of the Attorney General. It says that in the absence of any evidence on the docket in support of any of the allegations of illegal mining activities, we are unable to recommend the prosecution of any of the persons cited in the report. You do realize that per the Constitution, all prosecutions in the country emanate from the Attorney General, and the police do so on behalf of the Attorney General. And so this is the Attorney General recommending to the Ghana Police Service that these persons who were mentioned by Professor Frimpong in his report, there is no evidence for you to be able to prosecute them. Lord Comey, Charles Niteg, Frank Siedu, Honorable Joseph Albert Kwam, Charles Owusu, Donald Ensra, Gabi Asayotredako, and a number of names that were mentioned in Professor Frimpong's report. The Attorney General simply says there's no evidence, and because of that, his recommendation to the police is that no prosecution be undertaken against these persons.
Kweku Asante with our legal affairs desk, breaking all of the details down for us in terms of what it is that the Attorney General is now directing the Ghana Police Service to do to free all 16 plus individuals mentioned in the Frimpong Boateng report. But what does the professor himself have to say about this inter-ministerial report on illegal mining? Well, for the former government appointee, he believes that it's entirely up to the government to take the issue up and to prosecute the individuals involved.
I have to be honest, because, if you are doing something that important and some people who are influential and supposed to help are doing otherwise, you have to say the truth. I mean, I could have written a lame report, oh, Mr. President, everything is working fine and so on. But things are worse now, even now, and getting worse by the day. So I have to be very honest with the president and say, look, I have written my report. If the Attorney General or anybody wants to classify it as being hearsay or this, it's up to them. I'm not saying that the report was not. So what is factual? I mean, you can even take the Constitution. What is factual in Ghana? Look at where we are now. What is factual? So I write a report, and what I think is an honest report to you. It's up to you. You see, information is what the importance of information is what you do with it when you get information. So if I've given a report and you say it's not factual, it's been data, and you want to ignore it, fine. I'm okay with that.
And that was Professor Frimpong Boateng speaking exclusively to Evans Mensah when that question was, put forward as to adducing further evidence to back his claims. His position on this matter is made known as the reason for which, many are beginning to react to the opinion of the Attorney General. Let's hear from lawyer Martin People, who's a private legal practitioner. Erastus Asare Donko is a producer of Poison for Gold, detailing all of the areas. In fact, some mentioned in Professor Frimpong Boateng's document and pointing to how vast and devastating the effects of illegal mining have been on the environment. Erastus, it's good to be hearing from you now, knowing that the Attorney General has finally made his pronouncements on this matter, which carries some level of weight still. But tell us about the extent of damage that Professor Frimpong Boateng refers to in his document, which you have personally in your work discovered.
Well, first of all, I must say that it's interesting, it's surprising, but I'm not shocked because when we provided evidence with some of the cases to even the National Assembly, we were being asked to provide concrete. Even when the evidence was there, drone footage, videos, and other things, they did nothing with them. So I'm not surprised that this one will also not get any attention. But to your question, now we are seeing an increased destruction of our environment more than we saw 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago. Now it's worse. In fact, when you move along major roads like from Diaso, Ayamfre Road, Wasada Diaso area, it's been done glaringly by the roadside. Tailings and residue from mining flowing along the roadside, as if nobody is seeing it. When you come to Ashanti region, the Apamprama Forest Reserve, I just showed in my Forest for Siege, Forest Under Siege documentary, is being pillaged. Just 3 days ago, our scouts in the area sent us video footage of the Chinese miners re-entering the area where excavators were bent recently. They are going back to mine. When you go to the Samra Boy area, the Tunnel de Mre Forest is now being pillaged. And the company there, Samatex, is spending millions of Ghana cedis to fight illegal miners who are destroying the forest there. When you go to Etiwa, we've been there. Illegal miners have penetrated They are now mining within the forest in certain portions. So the lack of consequence is now breeding impunity across the country. Now, in our upcoming documentary, Poison for Gold, you will see evidence of how the irresponsible mining is now affecting public health across the country. Look at our rivers. Every major river body or water body is now highly polluted. We have conducted tests of samples and what they contain, and it will shock you. So, I don't know what the people in government want us to do anymore, because we provided the evidence, we provided evidence of who is destroying the environment, who is doing what. Yet, people say there is no evidence. So I guess our very existence is threatened, and the people who are supposed to protect it see nothing wrong with it.
And I get the passion with which you advocate for that. I mean, having firsthand seen all of the matters that you report to us here on Top Story tonight. But it's the reason for which I also want to hear from lawyer Martin Bibu, who's joining the conversation. And counsel, the point about the directive to the CID of the Ghana Police Service, the Attorney General is effectively saying, "Let my people go." What legal remedies would operatives within the CID of the Ghana Police Service have to proceed in spite of this directive from the from the Attorney General?
Well, for now, based on the current facts, they ordinarily will not proceed with further investigation, apart from the side that the one concerning the excavators, that the Attorney General says the CID should continue to prosecute. Yes, so that one will go on. But for these ones that he's seeking to discharge upon Nkrumah and the rest, CID, they are usually seen as part of the executive, so they won't do anything to rock the boat. So it's for us citizens to lodge another criminal complaint. Frimpong Boateng was just a report. So some citizens who have the evidence, like Erastus, have the right to go to the police and lodge another complaint, or lodge a complaint instead of another, lodge a formal complaint and show the evidence. Then the CID will be forced to look again into it. Or we, as a public, we can demonstrate or do other things to put pressure on the AG to reverse this opinion, because this opinion is incomplete. I was on another platform with you where I made a point that they need to go to the forest and check. The report, the opinion doesn't talk about investigations in the forest. Erastus told you, he brought evidence. Even the Frimpong Boateng report itself makes it clear that Gabi Ochredako, the president's brother, wrote, or they say his cousin, called Frimpong Boateng and told him that C&J Alaska were lawfully in the forest. So from these facts, it's clear that C&J Alaska were in the Aproprama and Kobru forest, where they polluted River Ofin and destroyed the forest. But he maintains that they had the right papers. Frimpong Boateng said they don't. I don't see any part of the report that dealt with this question. Did they go to the forest to find out what destruction took place? Did they go to Minerals Commission to find out if C&J Alaska had the right papers? Did they go to Forestry Commission? You don't need Frimpong Boateng to come to give you any further details. No.
Right.
No.
What's the level of burden now on Professor Frimpong Boateng himself, who the Attorney General indicates in a statement is unwilling to provide further evidence? It's as though he's making wild allegations without producing further evidence.
Frimpong Boateng has no case to answer. Yes. Blessed Kofi, Frimpong Boateng has no case to answer. He's authored this report. It has enough information. Listen, look, politicians should stop gaslighting us. We are not kids. If you want to investigate this case, you don't need Frimpong Boateng. He's already given enough pointers. That's why I told you the crux of this opinion is who went to the Apaprama and Kobru forest. Who went? Nobody did so far from the opinion. 2, who went to the Minerals Commission? I have a similar case, not me alone. Me and engineer Kenashigbe, Kwame Saponsidio, and Edem Senano. We reported Chairman Wood to me for destroying the Tano Nimri forest. We went to the CID a year ago. CID are still doing painstaking investigations. Of course, we are very upset that it's slow, but they are still investigating. So how can this Frimpong Boateng report just within a few months, they say they finished? It's whitewashing. Do you see that they didn't go to the forest? The moment they didn't go to the forest, the moment they didn't ask Minerals Commission for confirmation whether C&J Alaska, Gabby's client, had the right to be in the forest, etc., then I knew that this report is just the AG's opinion is that just whitewashing the situation. This opinion is incomplete. We have to throw it out.
I see. And that's why you're mounting pressure on the Attorney General to try as much as possible to review and possibly reverse that opinion. Also joining the conversation tonight, Sami Jemfi Esquire is the Communications Officer for the National Democratic Congress, is also joining the conversation. I will ask her as coordinator, Eco-Conscious Citizens, also a lawyer, understands the ramifications on the opinion issued now by the Attorney General. And let me start off with you, Awolasawa, the point about reforms, even if the AG's opinion is anything to go by. Your first impression, though, on this opinion by the AG, and going forward, what sort of reforms are you on the lookout for?
Well, what I'll say first of all is that the opinion, as has already been said, in fact, I could have said I've got nothing further to add. The opinion is disappointing, to put it mildly. It's extremely disappointing. But then from the onset, there was a lack of appetite for investigating anything. You know that this report sat on somebody's desk for over 2 years, and had it not been for the media, it would still be sitting on somebody's desk. Professor Frimpong Boateng has authored the report. He's given us all the information he needs to get. Now it's up to the police, whose mandate it is to investigate. I have confidence in the police that if they want to do a good job, they have the means, they have the skills to do a good job. As has been said, has there been a visit to the forest involved? Has there been a visit to Minerals Commission to ascertain the kind of licenses, if any, have been issued? We don't need Professor Frimpong Boateng to do anything further. He's pointed the way, for heaven's sake. What we need to do is have the will to thoroughly investigate this matter. And let's be clear, it's not about any political party. It's about the good of Ghana. It's about the good of Ghana.
But when you make the point, it's as though we're prejudging the case, believing that the good old professor is an angel. This was a former government appointee who parted ways with his government.
He has written a report. We've all seen the destruction of the forest. So what we need to ascertain is the veracity of the report. I have no reason to doubt Professor Frimpong Boateng. What would be his motive? But be that as it may, investigations need to be conducted. And I'm not satisfied that the Attorney General reports that there's nothing further to do because Frimpong Boateng is not producing further evidence. I really don't see how that goes. What else do we want from him? Do we want him to pull us and take us to the forest? For heaven's sake, he's done his bit. What needs to be done is for the police to investigate. They have the investigative powers. They should be given the resources to do their job.
Okay, let's hear from lawyer Sami Jemfi as well, speaks for the National Democratic Congress. And Sami Jemfi, I recall vividly that the NDC held a press briefing on this matter. You called for an expedited action, from the Attorney General's department, and further calling for a possible prosecution of the individuals involved or named in this report. The AG says no evidence.
Well, point of correction, we never made any call on the Attorney General to expedite any investigations into this matter.
The OSP, the OSP, I mean.
Yes, our call was on the Office of Special Prosecutor, yes, because we've never had confidence in the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice. Since this government took office, you and I have never seen this Attorney General prosecute any official of this government or member of the ruling party for any act of corruption. He's not done so because he's not interested in fighting corruption. Neither is he interested in protecting the interests of the state. this latest advice from his office on the Frimpong Boateng report, damning report, is yet another attempt by this Attorney General to cover up clear acts of corruption on the part of government officials and members of the ruling New Patriotic Party. You see, contrary to the claim that Professor Frimpong Boateng has not adduced evidence to buttress the claims he has made in the report, there is ample evidence to support most, if not all, of the claims contained in that report. And I would just point you to just three. I'm even surprised that you are friends at Multimedia and will be asking us these questions this evening, because you have custody of the evidence. All the evidence the Attorney General or any investigative authority or institution in this country needs to prosecute this matter. You have the evidence. What do I mean by this? Number one, on the matter concerning Donald Nsia, the owner of CJ Alaska, now Imperial Heritage or something, Heritage Imperial. Professor Frimpong Boateng says that this gentleman and his company were or have been engaging in illegal mining in the Krobo Forest Reserve and the Apapama Forest Reserve under the guise of prospecting. In other words, they have a prospecting license, but what the company is actually engaging is illegal mining. Now, the police and the Attorney General will have us believe that there is no evidence. But you and I know that you have published a documentary titled Forest Under Siege. And in this documentary, your reporter, Erastus Asaridonko, shows us video footage of Donald Nsia's company engaging in illegal mining in the Krobo Forest Reserve section of the Apapama Forest Reserve. The evidence is there in that documentary. In fact, in 2018, the Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining actually went to that forest and arrested officials of that company and seized 35 excavators which were being used for illegal mining, when all the company had was a prospecting license. So what evidence again does Godfred Dame need to prosecute Donald Nsia and his company for engaging in illegal mining, when there is clear video evidence to support the statements or the allegations that Frimpong Boateng has made? At least the video evidence is there. Video no they lie. And there are reporters at Multimedia who are willing to testify to that. Frimpong Boateng will be willing to testify to that. So what other evidence do they need again? Number two, in the report of Frimpong Boateng, he talks about a member of the Minerals Commission, Professor Albert Kwam, who under the guise of community mining secured some mining concessions which he sold at a price of 200,000 Ghana cedis to various individuals, including NPP functionaries. Now, Professor Frimpong Boateng stated this fact. We are being told that there is no evidence to back it. Now let me give you the evidence, corroborative evidence. The former first vice chairman of the NPP in the Ashanti region, by name Kwabena Sentry, is on record. I can send you the video. He spoke on Sompa FM in Kumasi.
Right.
And he is on record to have said that this Professor Kwam came to him and offered him a mining concession, and that he actually provided him with company documents belonging to him, and indeed he was called by Minerals Commission, and he was given some documentations which had to do with a concession he had been granted, and that he never had access to this concession, and that somebody called Ejewusu was rather sold this concession, which was procured in his name with his company documents. So they procured it in his name, but sold it to another individual, and the individual is on tape confessing to this matter. And Kwabena Sentry says that he has reported this matter to the CID, he has petitioned the Office of Special Prosecutor, and he has also petitioned National Security on this matter. And he has confirmed everything Professor Frimpong Boateng has said he says is a testimony of the fact that Professor Albert Kwam actually was engaged in the selling of concessions to MPP functionaries. So what evidence again do they need?
Indeed.
Let me give you another evidence.
For the sake of time,
about the missing excavator. The Attorney General himself states in his so-called advice, which is nothing but a cover-up, that Professor Frimpong actually gave the police a statement written or given to the police by Sesmante, a journalist, who is the errand boy of the Central Regional Security Coordinator. And in this statement, the journalist confessed that his bank account at NID was actually used to receive bribes, payments to the tune of 50,000 cedis, 55,000 cedis by illegal miners whose excavators and equipment have been seized by an interministerial committee against illegal mining. Okay. And that these monies were actually paid into his account.
Right.
And that he retrieved the money and paid it to this security coordinator who shared the money with Ekwawusi. And Frimpong has even added the bank statement for that account.
Okay.
So what other evidence do they need?
Indeed, and that's a great question you are asking. Many of us are also asking here, and of course we'll keep seeking for answers. That's the communications officer for the National Democratic Congress, lawyer Sami Jemfi, joining the conversation tonight on Top Story. Next is Newsnight.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Well, in the next 60 minutes, more trouble for former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapaah. She is charged by the special prosecutor with criminal offence of failing to declare her income and properties. We have details as Cecilia Dapaah applies to the court seeking to stop the office of the special prosecutor from investigating her for corruption-related offences and to have her money seized returned. And tonight we're also looking at the aggrieved customers of defunct Gold Coast Fund Management beginning a 48-hour non-stop picketing to demand their locked-up investment.
Look at the ages of these people standing right here. They are above 60, 70, 80. And if the government will be so sensitive enough to watch on for these people to tarry within the weather, scorched by the sun, and stand in the dew for the 48 hours, it will deepen their insensitiveness to the whole world.
And we'll get to, find out why they're picketing the finance ministry some more later in the bulletin. Also, government says it is getting closer to reaching an agreement with its external creditors to restructure over $10 billion debt, as the IMF insists the deal is key to release of the second tranche of the $600 million.
We need to have what we call financing assurances from official bilateral creditors.
For the end of this year, we would have reached a certain point of understanding with the official creditors.
Well, there's a warning from an economist that the conditions set by the IMF will only impoverish Ghanaians. Will get you details.
$1.9 billion in the scheme of things of our total external debt should not be the reason why people should suffer unnecessarily. They may be weaponizing this whole debt relief arrangement.
And we have more on that coming up in business.
IMF projects end of year inflation rate will hit 0.3% for Ghana, whilst growth will be pegged at 1.2%.
And in sports business, marketing specialist Professor Robert Hinson calls for inclusion of football in the country's export promotion strategies to help develop the game.
More here on Newsnight. Very disappointing to accuse me of bias. Chairperson of Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating leaked tape seeking to oust the Inspector General of Police strongly rejects claims of bias by the IGP's lawyers.
It's a baseless allegation, and the rest of the members of the committee thought that the lawyer who came this morning would be bold to state it again and they would have responded. He couldn't mention it.
Well, there's more as he reveals reasons for his decision to block the police management board members who accompanied the IGP earlier today from taking part in the in-camera hearing.
The committee felt that because we said we are doing the matters in camera, it will not be fair for non-witnesses to be present. That was the thinking of the committee.
And we are your election headquarters, also bringing you a feel of what's happening in the West African country of Liberia as polls come to an end this hour. And we have more coming your way here on Newsnight, which is live on Joy 99.7 FM and affiliates across the country. I am Blessed Sogah, and tonight there's fresh trouble for the embattled former sanitation minister, Cecilia Dapaah, after the special prosecutor charged her with the criminal offence of failing to declare her income and properties as requested by lawful officers of the special prosecutor. The OSP is currently in court seeking to confirm the seizure of millions of cedis seized from Cecilia Dapaah when her house was searched, even as both parties ready themselves to battle it out in court on this matter in the next 24 hours. The special prosecutor has formally charged the former minister with a criminal offence. Meanwhile, Cecilia Dapaah has also filed an application in the High Court seeking to stop the OSP from investigating her for corruption-related offences and to have her monies, which were seized, returned. We'll get more from Kwekwe Asante, who's with our legal affairs desk, joining us right now to run us through the details of this offence and the charge from the OSP. Kwekwe, let's take it away. First of all, the OSP adducing some evidence to back his claims that this criminal charge must go through. What's the grounding of the Office of the Special Prosecutor?
Well, Blessed, so the special prosecutor is charging Madam Cecilia Dapaah with one count of failing to comply with a lawful demand of an authorized officer of the Office of the Special Prosecutor in the performance of his functions, contrary to Section 691A of the Special Prosecutors Act 959. And the particulars of the case are that Madam Cecilia Dapaah, 68 years, on the 23rd of August in Accra, and within the jurisdiction of the court, being a suspect under investigation for corruption and corruption-related offences, including using public office for profit in respect of suspected tainted large cash sums reportedly stolen from her residential premises and also retrieved from the same residence by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, without lawful excuse, failed within 30 days to comply with the notice to declare your property and income served on you by the Special Prosecutor. And so the Special Prosecutor had served on Madam Cecilia Dapaah notice to actually declare her lawful income, because the Special Prosecutor really wanted to after the work, correlate that with the amount of money that had been seized to find out whether or not Madam Cecilia Dapaah made that amount of money legally. It is the contention of the Special Prosecutor that because Madam Cecilia Dapaah refused or failed to comply with his officer's demands, this is an offence under the Special Prosecutor law, and he has cited the law and has since charged Madam Cecilia Dapaah with an offence under Act 959.
And we understand Cecilia Dapaah has also filed an application seeking to stop the OSP this time around from investigating her for corruption-related offences. What more do we know?
Yes, so that is on the score of the first case that is going on already. We know that the Special Prosecutor seized some amount of money belonging to Cecilia Dapaah and wanted to confirm the seizure. Initially, the first court of instance refused the application and ordered the Special Prosecutor to return those amounts of money to Madam Cecilia Dapaah. The Special Prosecutor complied, but immediately seized the money again and has since filed an application in another high court seeking to confirm the seizure. Madam Cecilia Dapaah has already filed her own affidavit in opposition, but she's also filed this motion for judicial review, asking the High Court to, as it were, stop the special prosecutor from going ahead with the confirmation of the seizure of the property. It is the contention of Madam Cecilia Dapaah that a special prosecutor is abusing the process, and that the first High Court has actually ordered the special prosecutor to release the first property to Madam Cecilia Dapaah, and that it is an abuse of the process for the special prosecutor to seize this amount of money again and to take it through the process to, as it were, confirm the seizure again. I must add, Blessed, that a special prosecutor is also being, as it were, waiting on the court to make a determination, because Madam Cecilia Dapaah has also filed an application for injunction seeking to stop the special prosecutor from going ahead with some of the processes to seize her money. If these applications are confirmed by the court, it will mean that the special prosecutor will be barred from going ahead with the processes to confirm the seizure of the property. Madam Cecilia Dapaah also wants the court to stop the special prosecutor altogether from continuing investigating her and the husband for alleged corruption and corruption-related offenses.
I see. Kweku Asante with our legal affairs desk breaking down the latest that Cecilia Dapaah and her lawyers are in court asking the OSP to stop investigating her as an interim measure, and also the OSP filing new charges against Cecilia Dapaah. Well, what are the legal implications for all of this? Earlier I spoke to legal practitioner Martin People for his reaction. I started by asking if the actions of the OSP is grounded in law.
Absolutely, Blessed. Absolutely. That's the law. Section 69 of the OSP Act, Act 959, right? Says that if the OSP requires you to give information and you don't give it, then that constitutes an offense, right? So that is what the OSP has stood on in order to charge Madam Dapaah. So this one, simply put, is failure to provide information to the OSP. That's just the failure. So in time, we will see if there is evidence to charge her with the substantive offenses of corruption or corruption-related offenses. Those ones are separate.
Yeah. Does it not seem as though the OSP is being overly fixated, if we could use that word, on Madam Cecilia Dapaah? Here's one case being dealt with on monies relating to issues relating to the money that was stashed in a home, and then you have the OSP going ahead to trigger this action as well. Should that be described as some sort of fixation on her for reasons we are not able to explain now?
No, Blessed. I'm trying very hard to see if there's any reason for us to think there is a fixation and over fixation. But I'm not really seeing any. No, on the contrary, I don't think we've done enough in terms of fighting corruption. We've not done enough at all. Like we've been saying, look, Madam Dapaah is not alone. We want to search the rest of the ministers. You think Madam Dapaah is alone? This money that we've seen in her home is just a tip of the iceberg. It's long been out there that, look, our ministers have lots of our Ghanaian taxpayers' money in their homes. It's long been there since last year. But professionals like us didn't want to, amplify those comments because you would be said that where is the evidence?
And that's private legal practitioner Martin People. And sounds now you hear members of the aggrieved customers of defunct Gold Coast Fund Management Company who have converged at the premises of the Finance Ministry to begin a 48-hour non-stop protest to demand their locked-up investments. According to the group, they cannot fathom why their investments remain unpaid after allocations for a bailout have been approved by Parliament. They demand that the Finance Ministry release their monies to the commercial banks to credit their accounts before they leave the Finance Ministry. While some of the aggrieved customers also shared their frustrations and hardship they go through due to the locked-up investment.
Please, we are appealing to government to pay us because our members are dying. Me, for instance, I have to go through hardship It's not easy. Very difficult. Very, very difficult because I have to force my pension at 55, which I don't supposed to do that. I plan to enjoy life after working at the mines. So please, we are appealing to government to see to that finance minister release the remaining, the 5.7 billion that he's still with finance minister. He should release it for us, please.
I retired 23 years ago. Haven't worked over 30 years. I expected to enjoy my retirement. So all the money I had, I invested. Let them release our money. That's all. So that it isn't the government's money. It is my money that I have worked and earned. So at least for them, the government to see that some of us, those who were civil servants, how much were we being paid? So all that we had to invest to be able to earn something. The interest, at least we could enjoy. Interest, though, main principal.
We have to go outside, beg. Sometimes maybe our friends, we call them down, we don't have money, give us something little. Even school fees, but we can't even pay. Now one exercise book is 10 cedi, first is 2 cedi. Why? One notebook is 50 cedi. Why? Just a notebook for a child who is in class 5. Why? Even the school fees, but we should release the money. It should release the money.
Well, sounds of frustration there. So what's the latest on the condition of these protesters who say they will pass the night at the Finance Ministry? Charles Nyame is convener of the Aggrieved Customers of Defunct Gold Coast Fund Management, joining us now on Newsnight. Mr. Nyame, anything, updates or engagements possibly with the Finance Ministry? Because we, of course, learned from our sources earlier today that the Finance Ministry was willing to engage.
Thank you, my brother. Greetings to all your cherished listeners. There hasn't been any fruitful engagement. Yes, earlier when we came here, the director in charge of administration expressed interest to meet us. In fact, we were ready to meet with him. They just ushered us into a reception where people were coming to and fro. They left us there. We sat there for over 45 minutes. No one attended to us. And we were getting frustrated. So we had no option than to just get up and walk out. So that was the outcome of the initial expression of their engagement.
And do we have an idea, or in terms of the numbers, how many persons are involved in this case, and what kind of investment is at stake?
Thank you very much. We are 47 different fund management customers or companies' customers. Gold Coast Fund Management is just one of it. And Gold Coast Fund Management customers are 90% of entire 47 companies' customers. And our investment portfolio is also over 90% of the entire investment portfolio for these 47 companies that were active. As we speak now, as far as we are concerned, there is an outstanding money of 5.5 billion out of the 8.6 billion that was approved for our payment, and we are yet to see a disbursement. But the Finance Ministry claims that it is part of the 26 billion that they have used to clean up the financial sector. That's the reason why we are here raising concerns and questions that if fully they have spent the money, why didn't the money get to us? Because it was specifically approved for the payment of the fund management customers in full, and we haven't gotten our payment in full.
It's going to be a long night. What happens tomorrow?
Tomorrow throughout the night we are picketing till tomorrow, and it is interesting to know how unconcerned and insensitive these people are. No one shows any concern. They close and they came driving their car. They go to their various homes, and we are going to tarry in the night. We will tarry here, but you see, if anything happens, no one should blame us in the course of these 48 hours, because what they are doing is irritating us the more.
And I'm grateful for spending some time with us. That's Charles Nyami, convener for the aggrieved customers of the defunct Gold Coast Fund Management, sharing their thoughts with us. And we understand they'll be passing the night at the forecourts of the Finance Ministry. We'll keep an eye on that and bring you some updates subsequently. But for now, government says it is inching closer to reaching an agreement with the official creditors of the country, especially the Paris Club, to restructure over $10 billion of debt. The International Monetary Fund Mission Chief for Ghana, Stefan Rode, has disclosed that government must secure the required financing assurance from external bilateral creditors before its board can approve the next tranche of the funds for the country. Well, he's been speaking to Joy Business editor George Wefe.
The agreement that we have at the current juncture is called a staff level agreement because it is an agreement between us, the staff team that was here in Accra for these 2 weeks, and the government and the authorities. The next steps are for our management to endorse the review, and then eventually really the completion of the review and the disbursement of the funds associated with this review. And in this case, we talk about another $600 million. So this step will require completion by our executive board of the review. You asked about the conditions or what needs to be done going forward. For us to be able to present this review to our executive board, we need to have what we call financing assurances from official bilateral creditors. You will remember that for us to be able to present the program to our executive board back in May, we already needed a form of financing assurances, and we obtained them. The official creditor committee had committed to provide debt relief to Ghana in a way that is consistent with the program parameters, in a way that is consistent with the financing that is envisaged for the program, and also with the debt targets that the government is aiming to achieve over the medium term. At this current juncture, we also need financing assurances, but because progress is being made in the discussions, the type of financing assurances that we need to be able to move forward with presenting the review to the board entail an agreement on those terms of the restructuring that the government and the official creditor committee are discussing.
So then can we classify this verdict of passing the first review as a conditional pass?
I think the best way to qualify what happened this week is that we have reached a staff level agreement. And the next step will be an executive board level completion of the program.
And that's the IMF Mission Chief, Stefan Rode, speaking to Joy Business as George Wefe. Well, Information Minister Kojo Oponkroma says although there's no timeline for government to meet, they are making progress to secure the necessary financing agreement with the creditors in order to access the $600 million tranche from IMF.
For the end of this year, we would have reached a certain point of understanding with the official creditors and the Eurobond holders. It doesn't mean that we're going to get an agreement properly so-called with them before the end of this year. But that in itself is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing because A, we've already done the domestic. We think that we've been pretty successful with the domestic. And B, we are making progress with the external. And as these various rounds of negotiation go on and you find approvals being given by some of the key blocks, it gives a signaling effect to the fund that we are getting close to the agreement that we are looking for. And therefore, the fund is comfortable that the assurances that we're given are being followed. So it's not a hard timeline.
But I want to read this from the Ghana Mission Chief, Stefan Rode. He said, just like we got the financing assurance before Ghana secured the IMF program, this financing agreement from the external creditors is needed before the IMF board approved the first program review.
Not our understanding that the hard MOU, I mean, if you think about the concept, it's not like all of these countries and all these categories of bondholders are going to even sign one document. But what you are going to get is that, like I mentioned, you're going to get levels of progress, levels of agreement with the key block. You can talk about China, but if you look at China as a percentage of the entire 29 billion bucket, it's a different ballgame. If you come to the Eurobond holders or the bond holders, you're talking about something around 13 billion. So it's not as though they are all coming together to sign one document. You need some level of understanding and progress with them. That is what they are looking at.
And that's Kojo Nkrumah, Ghana's Minister for Information, Professor of Finance with the University of Ghana Business School. Godfred Boateng is warning the IMF condition requiring Ghana and other struggling economies to secure an agreement with the external creditors will only provide grounds for exploitation.
If you look at Ghana, we probably are majoring on the minor, because if you look at our indebtedness to China, it's not that significant to hold us back, really. Because $1.9 billion in the scheme of things of our total external debt should not be the reason why people should suffer unnecessarily. And I think that the West and the IMF should take another look. Otherwise, they may be weaponizing this whole debt relief arrangement in a way that inures more to their benefit within the global geopolitics and geoeconomic fragmentation rather than the countries they are seeking to help. Yeah. I think that is quite important.
And that's Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana, Godfred Boateng. And there was a lot of action in Parliament today with the chairperson of the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee investigating the alleged plot to remove the Inspector General of Police who has strongly refuted allegations of bias made by the IGP and his lawyers, describing him, all of these allegations, as baseless. His response follows the accusations by the IGP's legal team that the chairperson has a hidden agenda against their client due to his consistent prejudicial comments about proceedings in public. However, Samuel Atachia has condemned all of these assertions and indicated that the majority of Ghanaians can rather attest to his fairness in steering the committee. Before we hear from him, though, take a listen to the lead counsel for the IGP, Kwame Jan, making all of these allegations.
The chairman is operating as if he is a sole commissioner, and we are going to use all necessary legal means at the hearing not to accept this. He has his own agenda.
And what is this agenda?
He will disclose it. He has been granting interviews. Normally, what was happening was that any time after the proceedings, when we are quiet and we go home quietly, he would gather the press and grant interviews. To the extent that after one sitting, he went out there and said the extended tape which was submitted by Bugri Nabu had been doctored. A tape which has not been played for all of us to hear. He says it has been doctored. Very prejudicial comments all over. So, in the past, we thought that, because of respect for Parliament and the institution and the persons on the committee, I dropped my guns in most cases, but I'm going to do what lawyers do going forward. And I will protect my client's interests to the best of my ability. This is my oath as a lawyer. And we would resist any attempt by the chairman or the committee to bring any extraneous persons to come and testify.
Kwame Jan there. We can now listen to the chairperson of Parliament Ad Hoc Committee hearing the case, Samuel Atachia, dismissing all of these claims.
No allegation of bias has been made to me or the committee openly. What transpired was on Joy FM, which I heard. It is very disappointing for anybody to say I'm biased. On the contrary, the generality of Ghanaians believe that I've steered the affairs of the committee well. And if anybody is having jitters, I'm going to sort of manufacture evidence against the IGP. It has no accord with common sense, because what we are doing here, with the greatest of respect, is being recorded. So Atachia, with whatever dexterity, will not be able to improve upon the evidence.
Well, that's the response from the chairperson of the committee. So what more transpired at the committee sitting today? My colleague Samuel Mbura is joining us after monitoring all of the action there for us. And we know that there's been a response from the chairperson. Beyond that as well, we're learning of fresh details that members of the Police Management Board who accompanied the Inspector General of Police were not allowed into the hearings today.
Exactly, Blessed. You remember the first time the IGP appeared before the committee, he had a full backing of the members of the Police Management Board. It was the same today. However, the committee was of the view that this in-camera hearing is limited to only the witnesses or those who are directly involved. So once you get to the committee, you must come with only your lawyer. And the POMAP members were not part of those to testify, a reason they did not allow them to the hearing today.
The committee felt that because we said we are doing the matters in camera, it will not be fair for non-witnesses to be present. That was the thinking of the committee. What is the meaning of the in camera? We would have brought you there because you are also not going to testify. You are just, members of the press. So what is it? Discrimination here. The members of the press are not being admitted into a small chamber here. Why should we admit senior police officers who are not going to speak to come in there? So these are some of the, excuse me to say, incongruous, and some absurd positions people can, say and get away with it.
And the lawyers of the IGP are not happy with this?
Exactly. So Kofi Bento, who speaks for the legal team, held the view that POMAP members came to support the IGP because the allegations are not just on the IGP but on the Ghana Police Service, and their presence there was to possibly provide any response, because it is not all the information that the IGP would have in case the committee requests from him.
The IGP has not been summoned here in his personal capacity. We'll have to keep repeating that. POMAP is the group that manages the Ghana Police. Some of the questions being asked properly have to be asked POMAP. And wherever these issues arise, in fact, the answers of the IGP, the responses of the IGP, the conduct of the IGP reflect on POMAP. He does not work alone. So POMAP came here because this is about them also. And so they entered the room. Indeed, it is our argument that POMAP should have remained in the room. And even if the IGP had to leave, he could have left certain members of POMAP there to answer certain questions.
Okay, so that's it on the action regarding the POMAP members who are obviously denied access to the hearings today. Beyond that, the witnesses and issues surrounding the kind of evidence they were to adduce before the committee. The lawyers had some challenge with that.
Exactly. So the main crux of the investigations today was for the witnesses to produce evidence. However, Kofi Bento said there was no show at all.
No, nothing like that happened. In the first place, that was procedurally wrong. This is a committee that is supposed to find certain facts, and it has witnesses already. You don't have a situation where a witness comes and also wants to call a witness. A witness should be somebody who has first-hand information that they are going to use to help the committee find certain facts. The IGP, who is the victim of a conspiracy, is now being converted into an accused person, and his subordinate officers, still in the service, have bypassed the police systems, come here into Parliament, and through this committee are questioning him about things. There are 50,000 people in the police. There are regional commanders, district commanders, and all kinds of things. And then somebody comes and says, I have heard about people getting missing at a certain place, and this is the committee that is supposed to question that. Point is this: none of that happened today. None of that happened today. None of that happened today. Now.
Well, so that's the position of the lawyers representing the Inspector General of Police, George Akufo Dampare. Well, there's one party involved in this case, Superintendent George Asari, who has his lawyers also representing him. Alfred Pampadankwa is lawyer for Superintendent George Asari, joining us now on Newsnight. Thank you, sir, for your time. Mr. Dakwa, first of all, your assessment of today's assessment, actually, of today's in-camera hearing.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, so today in-camera hearing, basically we were supposed to continue with where we left off the last time. And some issues also came up with regard to the leakage of the letters that we sent out. So those issues were addressed, and we proceeded with where we left off. Unfortunately, the IGP had to leave earlier because of some excuse that he gave to the committee. But I think, by and large, everything went on well.
And we're just hearing from the likes of Kofi Bento speaking on behalf of the IGP, indicating that the evidence, or perhaps the witnesses who appeared today, did not adduce a single evidence against the IGP. How true is that?
I don't know what he's talking about. Honestly, what transpired today was the continuation of what happened the last time. And with regard to the evidence, we had already sent our evidence ahead, given to the committee, and said to all the witnesses and their lawyers, that document, they have it. So if he says that nothing was adduced, maybe he should disclose what they have in their possession.
Of course, he's not here. We'll definitely put that across to him and get some response on that. But I'm grateful for your time. Alfred Papadankwa speaks for Superintendent George Asari at the center of the IGP leak tape saga. Bringing us now to business. George VFA is joining us with the latest. George?
Well, hi, we're coming up in business. The IMF is projecting that we could end the year with an inflation rate of 31.3%.
Good news.
It means that maybe the projection by government that inflation rate is declining, that could be true. And this was captured in its economic outlook report released in Marrakesh, Morocco today as part of the ongoing IMF World Bank annual meetings. And also, energy strategist warns that petroleum prices could hit the roof if the current war between Israel and Hamas prolongs. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business.
Hey, Ma, the way you're always getting alerts these days, I won't be surprised to hear that you have gotten a Momo for Business account by my next visit.
Oh, I'm already on Momo for Business.
Since when?
Since. Now, it's easy to apply for a merchant SIM. All you need is a registered MTN number, your business certificate, your Ghana card, and you are good to go.
Sir,
you think you are the only one who knows what's up, eh? Look, I just dialed *5051#, selected register, and the region I was requesting the SIM from, and waited for my SMS with my reference number. You can even go online at momomerchantapplication.mtn.com.gh and complete the details for an even better experience.
Hey, Grandma Momo.
Sign up for Momo for Business the easy and simple way. Just visit momomerchantapplication.mtn.com.gh or dial *5051# and follow the prompts and be on your way to owning a Momo business account today for free.
MTN. Hooray! The Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited's Back to School promotion is here with us once again. From the 4th of September to the 31st of October 2023, Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited is giving a generous 10% to 15% discount on all school items like textbooks, pens, pencils, erasers, exercise books, and so much more across all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Takoradi, Winneba, and Cape Coast. Parents, teachers, and students, please hurry while stock lasts. For more information, call us on 0302-764-101 or 0302-764-209 or email info@kingdomgh.com. You can also visit our website www.kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books, where quality and affordability are both assured. Terms and conditions apply.
No matter your water needs, Sintex has it all. Sintex tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Sintex tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Sintex tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project, or demand, choose Sintex tank. Sintex tank, stress-free. Sintex tank, reliable. Sintex tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244-335-168, Kumasi 0505-555-666, or visit sintexgh.com. Sintex tank, a strong, a tough.
As a doctor, part of my job is to ensure that you have the right information to stay healthy. Today, that means correcting myths around the COVID vaccine. One myth says that the COVID vaccine reduces the sex drive of men and women and affects fertility. The truth is, there is no evidence at all to suggest that it does this. The COVID vaccine is a safe and effective way of keeping you and your loved ones protected from the virus. The right information could save your life. We are stronger together. Protect yourself and those around you. Get vaccinated today. Forget the yab, get the job. This message is brought to you by the Ghana Health Service, FHI 360, and Good Life. Live it well.
Yeah. Pepsodent Heba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. Afedia, you're gonna natural.
FDIJ Jadian Katuyatu.
Do you know Flamingo paint has superior properties than any other paint brand on the market? Listen, when you take one bucket of Flamingo paint, it's equal to several buckets of any paint brand on the market. So, Flamingo has superior hiding properties, superior coverage, it means it covers, and superior durability. Flamingo paint, superior hiding. Flamingo paint, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, superior durability. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Let's now settle for the details. The IMF is projecting that Ghana would end the year with an inflation rate of 31.3%. This was captured in its latest World Economic Outlook report released on the sidelines of the annual IMF World Bank meeting in Marrakesh, Morocco. There is more in this report.
The 31.3% end-year forecast for inflation by the IMF might be similar to what the Bank of Ghana has projected for the country by December 31, 2023. Inflation for the month of August 2023 declined marginally to hit 40.1%. But if this IMF projection is anything to go by, then it supports claims by the Bank of Ghana that inflation rate could be going down further in the coming months to reach new levels by the end of the year. The central bank's latest projection shows that inflation could even hit 29% by the end of this year. The projection, which was also captured in the IMF's latest economic outlook report, may support arguments that the economy is on the path to recovery. It is also projecting that inflation rate will drop further to even 50% in 2024. Looking at the data and projection, especially heading into an election year, if we should keep these numbers, this could help in stabilizing the economy.
On growth, the IMF is projecting that we might grow the economy at 1.2%. But at a recent engagement in Accra, the fund says it might have to review the target by the end of this year. Meanwhile, the director of Africa, the IMF, Abibi Selassie, says there might be the need for more policy rate tightening to try and contain the situation in Ghana and other African countries. He has been speaking at the news conference which ended a while ago in Marrakesh, Morocco.
Where inflation is high and continues to accelerate, that's a sign that monetary policy conditions are more accommodative than they are tighter and this in a direction that brings inflation down. The reason to tighten monetary policy, the reason to tighten inflation really has a lot to do also with the distributional effects that high inflation has. There is nothing that erodes the standards of living, that erodes the value of money, but for the poor, for the vulnerable in particular, more than inflation. Okay, it's often the richer segments of society that are able to put money in bank accounts that can shield themselves from the effects of inflation, and it's the poor people that suffer from high inflation. So fighting inflation is generally very, very pro-poor. It helps the poorest in society. So that's why we advocate for it, inflation under control, beyond all the other benefits that, of course, low inflation has in terms of fostering better economic activity.
Director at Africa, the IMF, that is Abibi Selassie, speaking at a news conference which ended a while ago in Marrakesh, Morocco, on the sidelines of the annual IMF World Bank meetings. Now, energy strategist Suleiman Yusuf is warning that prices of petroleum products could hit the roof if the current war between Israel and Hamas persists or maybe prolong. The war between the two sides appears to be escalating after evidence shows that more Israelis have been killed in the attack. Now, Suleiman Yusuf said the development might not be good for Ghana.
We are just praying that cool heads will actually prevail because there will not be a winner in this kind of conflict. If it actually prevails and oil stays within the region of 80s, let's say in the upper 80s, I wouldn't expect any significant increment at the pump. However, if the war persists and we have these speculations, what the marketers will do is that they will always do forward pricing or uncertainty. They will always put some kind of risk premium because they don't know what will happen. And that's always, the consumer will always be the losing end or will bear the brunt of that. So yes, as much as I don't see any substantial impact, any prolongation of this kind of conflict, yes, the impact on the pumps will be dire.
Suleiman Yusuf is an energy strategist, now business magnate and chairman of the Boateng Group. Dr. Daniel Macaulay has indicated that he is working to build the country's first sports hospitality facility in Ghana. The move, even materializes, might be the second in Africa after South Africa. Dr. Macaulay was speaking at the Joy Business, Joy Sports Thought Leadership Program on football economy.
By 2030, Saudi Arabia wants to push $22 billion in football. Yeah. We're talking about 7 years from now. What are we doing? What are we running with? What do we have? We have raw talents. I'm a businessman sitting here. How many talent am I developing every year? If you go to Sege Adan, I have bought 150 acres. I'm building a whole sports village. 4 football parks, including grass, tartan track, a football academy, 12 tennis courts with a center court, a gym, a boxing arena, including a sports clinic. The only place you can get a good sports clinic is in South Africa. There's going to be one here. So you all know before McDonald's will say he's doing something, he's done already. So you will soon see. If you go through Sege right now, you will see what is going on there. It's the biggest astroturf. But if you look around the world, some countries are still playing on grass.
Dr. Daniel Macaulay is the chairman of the Boateng Group, speaking at the Joy Business, Joy Sports Leadership Program on football economy.
Thanks, George.
And that's all for business.
In fact, that's not all. In fact, there are lots of angles to this, including how we could even go ahead and market the game itself. Yeah. It's a very crucial aspect of this. George, bring the money, we'll put in sports, right? Maybe we'll buy a Santi Kotoko. You never know.
Of course, the best team in Ghana. It's a fact. Let's talk after this news.
Okay, so the sportsman himself, Razak Musbah, is here. And Razak, lots flowing from, that thought leadership program, including, the marketing aspect that I talked about. There's more from that, I believe.
Yes, there's more. Well, business and marketing specialist and pro vice chancellor of the Ghana Technology University, Professor Robert Hinson, has called for an inclusion of football in the country's export promotion strategy in order to help develop the game. He was also speaking at the Thought Leadership event, which was held at the Labadi Beach Hotel, and insisted that the likes of GNPC and other state institutions need to incorporate football into their marketing strategies to help develop the game locally and internationally.
From the Ghana Tourism Authority to the Export Promotion Authority to the Investment Promotion Center to free zones, all the agencies in Ghana are responsible for marketing Ghana abroad. Maybe sports should be part of the Ghana mix we send out at a very conscious level. So that it's not just we are hoping. It should be part of it, because what I've also realized is that
Unlike South Africa, that's, for instance, brand South Africa, we don't have a concerted, singular nation brand proposition. So GIPC has its own thing, GP has, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, please, I'm here to, I like peace, so I just here to sort of, I don't have a commentary on whether it's good. I'm just saying that.
You're just stating the fact.
I'm just stating the fact. And I'm saying that to the extent that we don't have one brand Ghana office, let's try and include sports or football into the GIPC proposition, into the export promotion proposition, into free zones, into Ministry of Foreign Affairs, into Ministry of Trade. Anytime we get the chance to engage, let's look for investments and build solid business cases for getting the investments to take the football agenda forward. I think that kind of thinking would grow the brand locally and then make us internationally relevant as well.
Ghana Technology University there, Professor Robert Henson. Well, business magnate Dr. Macaulay also called for improved political will to ensure that the game is able to improve to the very highest level.
It must be a deliberate effort by government and the political leaders to say, this is the dream, this is where we're going.
Yeah.
Why should Kagame sponsor Arsenal, Rwanda on their shirt? I'm not a marketing person, but there is the need to sell your country.
Of course.
Football has sold Ghana than any other product in Ghana. Where are we coming from? I'm a businessman. By 2030, Saudi Arabia wants to push $22 billion in football.
Yep.
By 2030, we're talking about 7 years from now. And I know they'll go beyond that with the way they have started. What are we doing? What are we running with? What do we have?
Yeah, so that's Dr. Daniel Macaulay there. Well, Blessed, that's for sports, and it was a really exciting conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
And just to add that,
we need more of that, actually.
Yeah, we need more of that. And just to add that, of course, this news that has been out there, Eden Hazard will no longer be playing football at the age of 32. Only 32. While Cristiano Ronaldo is still playing at the age of 38. You know,
the jury is out there, right?
Yeah.
His days in Chelsea and, the feeling out there about his performance.
Yeah, performance, particularly at Real Madrid there. So we'll wait to see where he ends up. Well,
anyway,
that's it
good luck
for sports,
to him.
brought to you by Pepsodent Herbal and Chaco.
Indeed. Razak Musbao giving us the latest in the world of sports. Now, back home, 21-year-old Melsa Efia Anochua has chosen to work instead of furthering her education for now, so she can help her younger siblings get educated. This selfless act has seen her venture into a male-dominated workspace, which is not only challenging to her, but also is inspiring her to help others. She shares her story with Joy News.
She's had to put on hold pursuing her education. The aspiring journalist Melsa Efia Anochua is now hungry to make money because she has siblings to take care of.
I wanted to become a journalist, but I packed it because there was no financial support. So I had to stop work and support my mom to take care of my other siblings.
Her hard work in customer service earned her a spot from one good company to another. This time, Go Wash.
I really like the job and I'm not considering on going to school now. I want to learn more and become perfect before I go to school.
Considering the notion that car washing is associated to males, Melsa said she's actually surprised to be receiving only commendations.
When I go to some of the customers and we are doing the wash, they will be like, why are you doing?
And except for that inspiring story there, of course, flowing from our stories of hope. But it's time now to check out what's happening elsewhere in the West Africa sub-region, with Liberia holding its fourth presidential elections post the civilian conflict. Many are hopeful that the country will pass the democratic test this time around, as polling closes in the country. Let's get more from Nanaya Aljima, who's on the Foreign Affairs desk here at Joy News. Nanaya, it's been a long day, but get us up to speed with what's been happening in terms of the outcome of the election.
So far, election or ballots have ended in most of the polling stations here within Monrovia, and almost every polling station I've visited, these electoral officers are closing up, they are wrapping up, they are closing their ballot boxes, and in few minutes they'll go through the process. In few minutes we're expecting that some of these areas get counting for the results that they will have to start trickling in here in Monrovia. So far, the report that I have is that other counties are very calm. Same situation in other counties within Monrovia, except Sino County, where unfortunately election materials couldn't reach there for the election to happen today.
And we know that ECOWAS is strongly concerned about, Liberia passing that democratic test. They've been holding a news conference.
Exactly. ECOWAS has observers in almost all of the counties within Liberia, and what these observers are doing is that they are sending reports on the election to the Situation Room of the ECOWAS. So far, according to reports coming in from the Situation Room, things are very calm in Liberia, and this is the expectation of the ECOWAS mission here in Liberia. What they are also doing now is that they are trying to ensure that some of the results that they are able to pick from the various polling stations are sent to the Situation Room of the ECOWAS.
How about Liberians themselves, expectations in terms of the outcome of the election?
A lot of people are expectant. Mind you, there are 20 different candidates in this election, and the two leading figures are the CDC and the Unity Party. So far, supporters of both parties are very calm in the streets of Monrovia. All the people are going about their normal business. Not a single polling station has crowd. There presently, as I speak to you, where I am now, it's almost empty. The only people there now are the polling agents and officers of the Electoral Commission, and also officers from the ECOWAS and other observer missions here in Liberia.
And we wait to see what the final declaration will be. But Nanaya Aljima joining us from Monrovia. We take you now back home and then straight to the Ashanti Regional Capital, Kumasi, where the National Science and Maths Quiz is underway. Olankel Senior High School is set to face off against a school that I'll tell you about shortly. It's actually a mixed feeling for me to be talking about Olagil Senior High School and my school, Bishop Herman College, who are set to face off in the 1/8 stage of the 2023 National Science and Maths Quiz after a thrilling victory in the prelims round against Ponsem SHS and also Diambra SHS. Ola SHS Ho is determined to secure a spot in the quarterfinals, but will the ladies ditch their love affair to book a spot in the quarterfinals? That's the question we're asking, as my colleague Nana Yaopachi Adam interacted with the students after their contest in the first round.
Think of us, speak for us, work with us, speak for us, Queen of Apostles, yes, star of the moon.
How was it for you?
Actually, it was really fierce. But we never lost hope because you will never know the winner until we get to the last round of the contest. So we still had our hopes high, and by God's grace, we made it. So we are really...
the same thing. We never lost our hope because our coordinators and our teachers tell us that you will never know the winner until the last riddle. So we didn't give up when we saw that we're not answering some riddles. We were still encouraging ourselves, and then by God's grace, we made it, and we are very, very excited.
Okay, so going into the next stage of the contest, what are we to expect from Ola?
Oh, okay, as a girls' school, we just expect the best from us, and we are going to train harder because after every contest, we realize our mistakes and then go and work harder on it. So, we are going to do our best in the next stage also.
Olaho.
Our pride.
Olaho.
Our pride.
Olaho.
Always a gem.
That contest is on. We'll wait to see what the outcome will be, but that's all we have for you in this package of Newsnight. I'm Blessed Sogah. Log on to myjoyonline.com.